New students, please line up and go to the next venue, Ability Awakening Room. I hope you can all have a good result. This is the reporting office for the freshmen of the War College in Jinghai City. The War College opened today, attracting young students from all regions of Jinghai City to apply here. Yedong is also one of many students. The way to apply for the exam is very simple. Anyone who is 18 years old and has no awakening ability can apply. Yedong is a traveler. He has been in this world for a long time. Because he hasn't reached the age of 18, he has been studying in ordinary schools. This year he is finally 18 years old and has the qualifications to apply for the War Academy. How could he miss it? This world is ravaged and devastated by orcs and alien beasts, even if the news on TV has repeatedly emphasized that it is impossible for orcs to live in human territory. But the orcs and humans have basically not changed much. Only after the animalization and scientific research personnel use high-tech detectors to detect whether a person is an orc, it is difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. In the civilian neighborhood where he lives, there are often news of orcs attacking humans. This made him very worried. If one day, he opened the door and suddenly found his parents lying in a pool of blood. The orcs were eating the flesh and blood of his parents, and it was his turn next. That way he will feel very angry and desperate. He doesn't want this to happen. He must let his parents live in a safe city, Iron Fort. And the only way is to become a superpower. Moreover, he must be a second-tier level ability player. There are 10 levels in total from 1 to 10. Each stage is divided into 10 stars. Ability levels are divided into E, D, C, B, A, S. E level is the lowest, and S level is the highest. Yedong hopes he is C. At least C level. After that, as long as he can become a Tier 2 1-star ability, he can use his identity to apply for a house for his parents in the Iron Castle area with the highest safety factor. The Iron Fort is heavily guarded, and it is also one of the areas that the orcs dare not approach. If his parents live in the Iron Fort, they will be very safe. Yedong looked around. Although many people were arguing non-stop, he still saw a few firm eyes from it. I believe that many people here have the same idea as him. The competition is fierce, but he will never give in. Clevel. Clevel. I must be clevel. It doesn't matter what kind of abilities it is. Clevel? Who do you think you are? This time, there are at least thousands of freshmen enrolled, and 100 of them can awaken the Clevel abilities, which is pretty good. Yet, Clevel and above are all targeted by the Academy. The War Academy has a total of 100,000 students, and currently there are more than 1,000 Clevels. E-level and level abilities account for 90%. Obviously, everyone understands that this is not a simple matter. But he must do it. The front team began to move. It seems to be going to the next venue. Suddenly, there was a hint of excitement on everyone's faces. Yedong hurried to keep up. The War Academy occupies a very large area. In the process of marching in the queue, the new students also have a certain understanding of the War Academy. Walked into a building that was like an iron bucket buckled to the ground. With the iron gate closed, Yedong held his breath, looking for light in the darkness. Sudden! A dazzling light shone from the front of the crowd. It was a huge round ball of light. This ball of light will help them awaken their abilities next, and the ball of light also has a name called the Light of Awakening. He can completely simplify the process of the students awakening to the point where it comes naturally. It is said that in the past, power awakening required some related blood type matching. Two people with the same blood were guided by the power of the awakened one. Very cumbersome. There was a counselor standing beside the awakening light. The counselor did not introduce himself, but said, "Next, I will call up the name to wake up." The method of awakening is very simple. Press the hand on the awakening light. Just go. Perhaps the last batch of ability awakeners did not have a good result. The counselor's expression was slightly tired and dissatisfied. There is not only one war college in Jinghai City. In addition to the war college, there are several other colleges. The colleges used to compete with each other every year to compete for rankings. Higher-ranking colleges can maximize government funding. Each college also pays great attention to the students under its own college. If you can produce an A-level or S-level ability awakener, you can not only win a large amount of government funding for the college, but also attract more students to apply for admission. Behind the scenes, Liu Yaliang, the principal of the war college, swept across the crowd repeatedly with muddy old eyes, his eyes full of expectation. "Old Li, how I wish my academy could produce an A-level or even an S-level ability awakener. In this way, when the annual meeting is held, I can also lift it up in front of the deans of other academies. Let's start." On the side, Councillor Li Yat, who was called Lao Li by Principal Liu, sighed helplessly. "The dean, A-level and S-level abilities, these are all geniuses who can't make a single one in 10,000 miles. 1. Principal Liu was immediately anxious when he heard that, but why can other academies offer 1 or 2 A-level or S-level students? Our War Academy has the most students, but there is no A-level and S-level students. I don't even bother to go to the annual meeting. The annual meeting and government funding are carried out at the same time. Please think twice about the principal." Councillor Li stood by and smiled dryly. Liu Yaliang shook his head helplessly, and said, "Just treat me as angry." When the two college seniors were chatting, the counselor in the testing room had already read the name of the first student on the list. The first student, Lin Jian. Arrive. The student named Lin Jian stared at everyone's gaze, bitten his scalp and lowered his head and ran to the light of awakening. Then he put his hand on the light of awakening. A ripple-like vibration suddenly appeared on the surface of the light ball. Lin Jian's expression changed slightly, and his body grew instantly in the next second. He was covered with long black hair and transformed into a human-shaped green wolf. Wow! The roar, like a wolf's roar, continuously hovered in the awakening room. After this sound, the students in the entire awakening room have got goosebumps all over. The awakening light showed the person's ability level and type. Power level, E-level ability type, transform into an Orca level. Is there only a level? Lin Jian looked disappointed, not even level, let alone clevel. He picked up the clothes that had turned into rags on the ground and walked towards the stage. The reaction of the students in the audience was very flat. After all, the opponent's ability level is only E. Moreover, it is also the most unwelcome mutant ability among the ability levels. To know. This world is being devastated by orcs. Mutants have been severely discriminated against because they are close to orcs in appearance. There are many types of abilities, and most of the abilities of a class mutants are orc, stone, wood, or special enhancements in a certain part. The types of level abilities are relatively much better than those of a level, ability acquisition system, body armed. Clevel is not easy. You can awaken the elemental system with good luck, but relatively few. The general body shape is closer to humans. It just gains some special abilities, such as the elemental system, controlling wind, fire, lightning, and power to judge the level. Almost all of the above are element types, among which many special types, space systems, and healing systems will appear. As for Grade A and Grade S, once awakened, they can almost be regarded as invincible. As long as they practice well, they can definitely reach the 10th level. It's a pity that people are insatiable. Many S-level and A-level abilities, 80% of them, lost their lives in wild hunting and fighting with orcs. It's so pitiful. It turned out to be a type of orc type, even if it's a stone man or a wooden man type, it's an orc type. The E-class orc is the most common type of mutants. This also shows that his aptitude is relatively ordinary. What's so pitiful? That is, the military department recruits people, and they usually prefer the orcs. The orcs are characterized by strong strength, agility, and the ability to charge directly against the orcs. That's because the number of orcs itself is large, and it doesn't hurt to kill an enemy on the battlefield. Everyone is silent. The awakening ceremony continued. After that, 7 mutant-type A-class awakeners appeared, and the whole scene was almost silent. Until a girl named Li Xiaoyu stepped onto the ring. Perhaps Li Xiaoyu is very cute, with the spirit of aura all over his body. The expressions of the students in the audience changed slightly. Li Xiaoyu took a deep breath and pressed his hand on the smooth light of awakening. A ripple suddenly spread from the light of awakening, spreading rapidly throughout his body. Suddenly, her body was madly growing countless thorny thorns. These thorns quickly wrapped her up and turned into a towering giant flower. In the end, Li Xiaoyu was slowly dragged by a few vines on his hips, and as the buds bloomed, they reappeared in front of everyone. She is still a little scared, but what is certain is that this is indeed her ability. As long as she can master this power proficiently, this power will not mess with her. Li Xiaoyu's ability level and type appeared on the light of awakening. Power level, C-level ability type, ancient plant system. The silent testing room suddenly became a commotion. Clevel. The first Clevel appeared. And still a girl. Ancient plants. This kind of ability is good. What's her name? I'm so envious. It turned out to be a Clevel. Even if I am mid-level, I am satisfied. The first Clevel ability person appeared. Yedong lowered his head slightly, also envy and yearning. This also means that as long as the girl raises her strength to a tier 2 1-star ability, she can apply for a special residence in the Iron Fort. Damn it! When will it be his turn? He can't wait. Li Xiaoyu jumped off the testing platform under the cheers of a group of men, and returned to the team with joy, whispering to a girl who was with her. At this time, about 80% of the men were looking at her. Xiao Yu, great! You turned out to be a crank ability, and the flower just now is so beautiful. How come those vines come out of you? Does it hurt? The clothes seem to be torn, you cover them quickly. Don't let those boys look at them. As soon as the female companion reminded him, Li Xiaoyu hurriedly took out a coat from the space ring in his hand and put it on her body. Space ring? This thing is very valuable. It is made by a supernatural player of the space department, and one is worth at least 100,000 dragon coins. Ordinary families can't afford this stuff. After seeing this ring, the people who had a desire to pursue Li Xiaoyu suddenly dismissed the idea. Miss others, they are not good enough. Li Xiaoyu grinned and said, it doesn't hurt or itchy, and my ability seems to be alive, it seems to be welcoming me, and finally raised me so high and scared me to death, hee hee. In laughter. The counselor read the next student's name again. The next student, Yedong. Yedong was shocked. Is it finally his turn? He walked out of the crowd, walking in the direction of the awakening light, neither fast nor slow. He looked at the light of awakening, and muttered in his heart, Clevel. As long as the sea level is good. Faster. Seeing him walking slowly, the counselor urged impatiently. Coming. Yedong walked to the light of awakening and took a deep breath, as if performing a very solemn ceremony. Slowly raised his right hand and pressed it on the light of awakening. The touch is unbelievably hard and cold. After pressing his palm on the light of awakening, a water ripple suddenly appeared at the place where he landed, and the water ripple instantly spread towards the entire sphere. Class C. Come. The light of awakening suddenly trembled. Everyone who was frightened subconsciously took a step back. Yedong hurriedly retracted his hand, looking at the light of awakening with a look of surprise. The counselor on the side also looked puzzled. It was the first time he saw a student rejected by the light of awakening. Because of the responsibility, the counselor reminded, don't be afraid, press your hands up, and don't let go no matter what happens, understand? Well, I'm trying it once. Yedong rearranged his mood, it seemed that he was too nervous. This time, he increased his strength a bit. He patted his hand on the light of awakening. But in the next second, a terrible cold current gushed from his body in an instant, blowing a gust of wind, blowing to the entire testing room. At this moment, the entire testing room was suddenly covered with heavy snow and violent winds, and everyone was instantly frozen like a grandson. Ah, what happened? It's so cold. What the is going on? Help, let me get out of here. Open the door. I am freezing to death here. The counselor on the side was the hardest, and he stopped anxiously. It's okay. The ability is revealed. You can let go. But Yedong didn't seem to hear it, his body was constantly changing. Yedong's flesh-colored skin instantly turned into a glass color, almost transparent, and violent cold currents continued to blow from under his feet, and layers of frost formed on the ground nearby. Behind the scenes, Principal Lu's eyes widened, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Lao Li! Look! It has appeared! It has appeared! This kid's ability level is definitely A grade. A grade elemental ability player. Ha ha ha! The counselor yelled anxiously at this time, don't be happy, this force is too strong, this kid can't control it, and the power is violent, you go and stop him. Otherwise everyone will die here. Good. Principal Lu instantly turned into a burning man with flames all over his body, jumped up and flew away. The appearance of the fireman suddenly illuminates the entire inspection room, the cold temperature drops suddenly, and the cold current is stabilized. Principal, help! The middle-aged counselors were frozen and unable to move. If the principal showed up, he would die on the test bench. This kind of thing has happened before. Before, there was an Alavel elemental power in the White Dragon Academy, and he almost killed the counselor who was in charge of testing him. Child! Let go! Principal Lu's voice instantly calmed Yedong, and he slowly put down the hand that was pressing on the light of awakening. The cold current in the room began to disappear, and the heavy snow continued to disappear. Only a group of students standing on the spot, shivering and trembling in the cold, remained. Are you? Principal Lu. Yedong had seen the application poster of the War College. The application poster had a picture of the principal. The principal nodded and said, let's take a look at your power level first. The headmaster looked up at the light of awakening. Everyone also looked up at the light of awakening. Power level, S grade ability type, elemental system, icy ice. After seeing the level displayed by the light of awakening, all the people present suddenly widened their eyes in astonishment, their mouths opened wide enough to lay an egg, and they stood on the spot as if petrified. But Yedong was surprised at this moment, not because he had awakened N's level ability. It's the attribute interface in front of you. Host, Yedong level, first tier, 1 star ability, S rank species, Arctic ice soul strength, 1 chi and blood, 1 speed, 1 energy, 1 strengthening points, 0. Yedong was shocked, this should be the system. Unexpectedly, he could awaken this level abilities because of the existence of the system. He has been in this world for several years, and the system has only appeared now? But it's better to appear than not to appear. It doesn't seem to be the time to study the system, and his mind moved, and the attribute panel really disappeared. S-level. My goodness! It turned out to be S-level. How could this be possible? From shock to disbelief, to self-doubt, these emotions flashed across every student's face in just a few seconds. The light of awakening can't go wrong. He is indeed an S rank. Moreover, it is still a known element type, Extreme Frost Ice Soul. I've read a book. It has introduced the first generation of supernatural powers of Extreme Frost Apparition. That guy was the first of the 10 generals of the National Defense Team 300 years ago. Warlord? This guy may become a warlord defending the country in the future? My God! He and I went to school together. Contact information. I want his contact information. I want to be his girlfriend. I want to give him a monkey. Everyone instantly fell into a madness at this moment, like a madman. Ha ha, ah ha ha ha. Principal Lu raised his head and laughed wildly, the laughter was deafening, and the whole scene suddenly became quiet. S-level ability. The War Academy finally turned over. It's not Alavel. It's S-level. Ha ha ha, those old guys, at the annual meeting, I think you dare not taunt me. Ha ha ha. Counselor Li rushed over at this moment. Principal Lu, pay attention to words. Pay attention to image. Only then did Principal Lu react, his old face blushed slightly, pretending that nothing happened, and said to Yedong, your name is Yedong. Yedong's goal is to reach Clevel power level. But as a result, his power level turned out to be S grade. And it's the extreme cold ice ability that the defender of the nation warlord once awakened 300 years ago. This really shocked him extremely. It's better than he expected, I don't know how much. Yes. My name is Yedong. Yedong looked confident. At this time he can be confident. Very good. I saw the shadow of me in your eyes. I believe that in the near future, your name will spread all over the country and become a nightmare for orcs. Thank you, Principal, I will definitely. Yedong laughed. President Lu was very satisfied with Yedong's answer, and then said, in this way, from now on, you will be the key trainee of our War Academy. I will personally guide you, depending on whether you want to. The Principal personally guide? Anything else you don't want? Everyone in the audience looked at Yedong with envy. I wish he was the one standing on the stage at this moment. Yedong felt that all this was like a dream. First, he awakened the ability of the extreme frost apparition, and now the Principal said that he would personally guide him. If it is a dream, he hopes that this dream will never wake up. Thank you, Principal, I will not let you down. Very good. The Principal lowered his head and glanced at the space ring in his hand, and then took out a ring from it. This ring is called the Elemental Space Ring. Usually it can not only provide you with a lot of elemental energy, but it can even be used as a space ring. It is a small meeting gift I give you. Thank you, Principal. Yedong took the ring from the Principal's hand with a worried expression, as if he had received a treasure. The space ring alone is very valuable, and now this space ring has a new function that can store elemental energy. As expected to be the principal of an academy, he was really generous in his actions. If he buys this, he might be able to change a house in Iron Fort, right? However, he would not do this. President Lu personally praised Yedong, and promised to personally guide him, and even in front of everyone, he gave his elemental space ring to Yedong. This made the jealous eyes of the following group of people red. As expected to be N's rank superpower, this kid is really lucky. Reincarnation is a technical job, but unfortunately I won't. Hey! Don't be sour, you are just jealous. Principal Lu smiled slightly and said, go down first, and remember to come to the principal's office to find me early tomorrow. I see. Yedong nodded and walked slowly toward the inspection room. The iron door opened. The eyes around me are jealous, envy, and disdain. Yedong didn't care very much either. He just wants to go home quickly, tell his parents the good news, and study the system. In the testing room, Yedong was eye-catching. But after leaving the testing room, among the crowd, he is the most inconspicuous one. If someone at the scene knows that his power level is S, it is estimated that everyone will be like the students in the testing room. Crazy for him, shout for him. Walked all the way out of school. On the way, I met the next batch of students who went to the testing room to awaken the ability. Seeing the excited expressions on their faces, Yedong felt a little bit emotional in his heart. I don't know how many of these people will have the last laugh. All of these. It's really like a dream. Yedong smiled softly, feeling better and walking a lot faster. After leaving the school gate, he swept a shared bicycle and rode all the way to the neighborhood where he lived. Said it is a block, it is actually a small broken alley. Inside are some old and unfinished buildings, belonging to the kind that will be demolished soon. There are already many unfinished buildings at the door that are being demolished. Before long, the scope of demolition will extend to the innermost point. It is said that there will be a plant here, and I don't know what plant it is. Yep. When Yedong passed through an alley, he suddenly noticed a little weirdness. He stepped back and looked into the dark depths of the alley. A scarlet eye suddenly lit up in the darkness, and his left cheek instantly cracked. He reacted quickly and fell down instantly, and a deafening noise suddenly came from behind him. Wow, that is a human body, cat head, orc. Orc. The orc grinned, hey, since you found out, there is no way. Go to hell. Humans. So fast. Yedong almost instinctively lay down, only to see a black shadow disappear in front of his eyes in a blink of an eye. He could feel the orc appearing behind him, but he did not move. He really awakened this level ability, but before that, he was just an ordinary person. Wouldn't it be so unlucky? I just awakened this level ability, am I going to be killed by the orcs? I'm behind you. The orc licked the claws like steel knives grimly, raised his right hand high, and made a downward penetration movement. How can I die here? Yedong clenched his teeth, and at the moment he lay down, he supported his body with his hands and kicked his legs. The collision between force and force. Yedong naturally didn't occupy the top position, but fortunately, he was relieved. What? The cat obviously didn't expect the opponent to resist, and used such a difficult trick, not only bounced off his attack, but even pulled away. The first time is good luck, the second time is absolutely impossible to have such good luck. Yedong took a deep breath, and the power of the extreme frost soul quickly circulated in his body, looking for a place to break through. He once saw a person remembering to interview an elemental power on TV. What is it like to use elemental power? Originally, the reporter just asked casually with curiosity. But the supernatural person explained the whole process and feelings in great detail. At that time, I was explaining for 10 minutes. People who don't know thought they had entered the popular science channel. He was watching the whole process at the time, and what the supernatural person said at that time quickly appeared in his mind. Elemental power is a kind of sensation that seems to exist, which is very vague, but you can grasp it accurately. The strength of the elemental power depends on the size of your energy. If your elemental power is strong enough, can do it. The mountains and rivers are shattered with one thought, and the mountains are shaken with one finger. The key to using the power of the elements is to imagine. Combine your imagination with your abilities and release them. He can. Aren't you going to run? Then I'll send you to death. Take aim. Yedong almost broke the defense because of this sight, but he quickly recovered his calm. Unleash the power of imagination combined. Yedong turned around abruptly and pressed into the air. He imagined that there was a huge mirror in front of his palm. Boom! Catman smashed it down. This punch was like hitting a hard wall. His eyes were so painful that his mouth slanted backwards. What? Are you a supernaturalist? Yedong didn't speak, he was completely silent in his imagination at this moment. He raised his right hand and shook it violently towards the catman's position. He imagined that there were countless ice thorns in the air in all directions, and the ice thorns penetrated the cat's body. Yedong suddenly felt his body empty, as if his soul had been forcibly pulled out. However, in the next second, countless dense cones of ice suddenly appeared around the cat people. Under the refraction of the sun, these ice cones are filled with a cold chill. Yedong knew that his imagination had succeeded. It's just that he didn't expect that the imagination alone made him almost fall down with exhaustion. But soon he returned to normal. The element space ring in his hand is constantly sending a warm stream of warmth into his body. The imagination just now made him consume all the energy in his body. Otherwise, How could this elemental space ring begin to replenish energy for him? It turns out that powerlessness is a sign that the energy consumption in the body is empty. It seems that you have to practice slowly. What the is this? What are you talking about? You are an elementalist? What class? S grade. Yedong sneered, shook his right hand suddenly, and muttered in his heart, "Go to hell." Countless ice cones were triggered instantly. Ah! Catman let out a scream. Puff puff puff, the ice cone broke through the air, like a machine gun, and blasted towards the Catman. Catman screamed and opened his arms, and he was suddenly pierced into an ice cone hedgehog. He remained kneeling on the ground and died. Kill Bliss, the first tier 1 star cat, and gain 100 enhancement points. The system prompt sounded in my ears. Yedong was shocked at once. What does this system prompt mean? Killing an orc can not only increase his realm, but also give him a strengthening point? Just before Yedong had time to digest this information, a group of people from the Wuan team rushed towards him. These people looked at the dead Catman in disbelief. If it weren't for a closer look, they really couldn't see the breed of this cat, because he had too many cones of ice on his body. "Little brother, did you do this?" Wuan team captain Su Zhen walked up to Yedong and asked in surprise, "Fang, is not convenient to leave your name? I'll return to the game to apply for a reward." "Is there a reward?" Yedong was of course very happy to tell each other. "My name is Yedong. I am a freshman at the War College. My family is right here." After telling the Wuan team leader Su Zhen the address, Yedong turned and walked towards his home. He made one thing more certain in his mind. He must raise his realm to tier 2 and 1 star as soon as possible, and then move out with his parents. When Yedong returned home, it was obvious that his parents hadn't come back yet, so he first took out the rice and plugged it into the rice cooker. Then he returned to his room. His room is on the top floor of the unfinished building, and the attic is his room. Except that the space is relatively small, everything else is pretty good. Yedong lay on the bed and called out the system. "System, what is the role of strengthening points?" "System, I am awakening in rank supernatural power at any rate. Why do my attributes still seem to be very low?" "They are all one." The data of the host itself is not loaded into the personal panel of the system, and the four-dimensional attributes in the personal panel exist independently. It turned out to be so. Since the attributes of the panel on the system exist independently, its own attributes will not be displayed. In other words, this is an additional attribute of the system, commonly known as hidden attributes. In the battle with the orcs just now, even though Yedong had a little mastered some combat methods as a superpower, but he also faintly discovered his own shortcomings. There is no need to question the destructive power of the extreme frost apparition. But the same use of this power will consume a lot of energy in the body. Just use the energy of the extreme frost apparition to fight. It is estimated that it will not take long for his energy to be exhausted. When the time comes to fall into a weak state, then he will be a living target. This made Yedong understand a very fatal key issue. He must also improve his abilities. Use extreme frost apparition as his bottom hand, and try to use it when encountering a strong opponent. As the saying goes, slaughtering chickens is the same as killing chickens. The strengthening points just made up for his physical defect. So Yedong called out his attribute panel. Host, Yedong level, first tier, 1 star and 1 stage ability, S rank species, Arctic ice soul strength, 1 chi and blood, 1 speed, 1 energy, 1 strengthening points, 100. It seems that because the enhancement point has become 100, a small plus sign appears after the strength attribute. While killing the orcs, his realm has also been improved, reaching 1 level and 1 star. Yedong focused his attention on the little plus sign behind the power. Strength increase. Strength, 2. Yedong felt the muscles all over his body contract for a while, and his strength did indeed increase a little bit. Perhaps the improvement is too little, and there is no obvious feeling. The strength has become 2, and the enhancement points have directly become 0. To strengthen 1 point of strength, you need 100 strengthening points. Yedong was shocked. How much blood, speed, and energy enhancement would he need after that? After all, when his strengthening point was at 100, except for strength, there was no small plus sign behind the other 3 attributes. There is a huge reason because his strengthening points are not enough. Killing a tier 1 orc is only enough to increase his strength by 1 point. The strengthening conditions are too harsh. Yedong sighed helplessly. However, convert it. Killing the orc can also increase his realm. Think so? On the contrary, I feel some value. If you want to quickly improve your cultivation level, you must rely on the power of the system. Where can you find so many orcs to kill? I wonder if there are any rewards for killing alien beasts? There may be too. Yedong took out his cell phone and searched for some nearby places where there are more strange beasts or orcs. Because the mobile phone network is very slow, this made Yedong very difficult to search. It's always loading. Fortunately, Huang Tian paid off, and the question he searched for was not too unpopular. Soon he found the answer he wanted. The old city of Jinghai City has been occupied by foreign animals for a long time. Originally, Jinghai City was not Jinghai City, but an ordinary small city. After it developed, everyone moved to the old city. Of course, some of the people who didn't want to move were left there. But before long, due to the lack of defenses in the old city, it was invaded by a strange animal. The old people who were reluctant to move all died there. The old city gradually evolved into a nest of strange animals. Although the members of the Wuan team kept sending people to attack the alien beasts, it was a pity that the number of alien beasts was too large, and there were more losses and fewer wins. Gradually, they stopped attacking, but sent people to guard there. In order to reduce the number of strange animals, the Wuan team released a reward list. The reward amount is determined based on the rank of the alien beast. This place is exactly the one that Yedong can go to and should be the most. Is it the old town? It seems to be far from here. I wonder if the subway can reach it. Yedong searched for the subway route again, and things went well beyond his expectation. He didn't expect that there was a subway that could go directly to the old town. Moreover, there is a beacon base outside the old city, where there are many young supernaturalists forming teams here to go to the old city together, as well as experienced supernaturalists. That would be easy. But he can't just go on like this. He hasn't fully grasped the power of extreme frost apparition, so he will ask Principal Lu for more advice tomorrow. Night. After Yedong's parents came back, they didn't ask him about going to the war college today. Yedong was a little speechless. Could it be that he had so little confidence in him? Do not ask. Do you think he won't pass the exam? What? You have been admitted? You deserve to be my son. Ha ha ha. Ye father patted Yedong's shoulder with a red face, pulling him to find Yemu who was cooking in the kitchen. Xiaoun, our son is admitted to the War Academy. You cook first, I'll buy some braised beef, and I want to drink at night. Wait. Mother Ye gave Ye father angrily, what does your son's admission to the War College have to do with your desire to drink and eat beef? You don't know the situation at home. Why not this meal? Father Ye looked a little unhappy. Yemu smiled bitterly, I asked you to buy less. Don't buy too much. Haha. Then I'm going. Ye's father burst into a smile suddenly. After Ye father left, Ye mother looked at her son distressedly, I really hope you didn't pass the exam. Yedong's nose suddenly sore. He understands what mom means. Entrance to the War Academy means that you will join the army in the future. It is possible to lose your life at any time. Yedong sniffed and said, Mom, don't worry, I will definitely train myself. Even if I go to the battlefield in the future, those orcs won't be able to hurt me. After a while, wait for my realm to break through the second tier 1. After the star, I can go to Iron Castle to apply for a house, and then we won't have to live with fear every day. Okay, wash your hands and eat, and return the Iron Castle. It's not something ordinary people can go in. It's good to have an idea. Obviously, my mother still doesn't believe him. Yedong was speechless. Forget it, they will know when the time comes. Out of the principal's office. There was an extra person beside Yedong. Principal Lu's granddaughter, Lu Shenghua. According to the original words of President Lu, Shenghua was trained by him alone, and he has already entered the military and has won military exploits. He is more than enough to teach him. Yedong was shocked in his heart. This Lu Shenghua is not even his age, but she has already been registered in the military, and has even gone to the battlefield to take military exploits? As expected to be the granddaughter of Principal Lu, he really is the grandson of Lord Tiger without dogs. The two came to an empty place on the hill behind the college. There are many flowers and birds here, and there are countless fruit trees. I think someone deliberately cultivated it. Moreover, it seems that no people are allowed to enter here. Lu Shenghua stopped, turned around and said to Yedong, "Okay, it's almost time to come here, and there should be no one else nearby. I ask you, what state are you now?" "1 tier 1 star. This is just getting started." Lu Shenghua was a little bit disappointed. If you can awaken the power earlier and start training from a young age, you will be at least a major general now. It's a pity that you were born in a slum and missed a great time. Lu Shenghua a look of regret. The community where Yedong lives is not a slum, at least he doesn't think so. However, many people like to call those unfinished buildings slums and those who live in slums as civilians. On this point, Yedong has nothing to say. Lu Shenghua's words woke him up instead. It turned out that she had awakened her supernatural powers very early and started practicing since she was a child. That's why she has achieved this achievement today. Lu Shenghua then said, "You must be very curious, why my ability is armed with iron and steel, but I can point you to an elemental superpower, right?" Yedong raised his brows slightly and smiled awkwardly. "There is indeed such a question, but I don't know how to say it for a while. Now that senior sister Lu sees it, let me ask." Lu Shenghua chuckled and said, "You are a strange and honest person, then I won't care about you. My ability is to arm the whole body with steel." "That's right, but my ability also needs to consume elemental energy. The control is also very demanding, for example." Lu Shenghua raised her right hand. Yedong's gaze stared at the past for the first time. What a small hand! However, just in the next second, these little hands suddenly became pitch black. Lu Shenghua gave a chuckle, and suddenly slammed a punch towards the ground. Boom! A 3-inch pit appeared across the ground instantly, and a spider web crack was formed around the pit. Yedong felt shocked in his heart. He originally thought that Lu Shenghua's whole body of steel was armed only to increase her defensive power, but he didn't expect that the destructive power was also possessed. As long as you control it properly, you can be partially armed. In this way, you don't have to go all out every time to reduce energy consumption. However, I generally like to be fully armed to enter the battle. I don't want to be on my skin, leaving unsightly scars." After Lu Shenghua finished speaking, she smiled at Yedong and stuck out her small tongue. Yedong admired how cute senior sister Lu is, but that's only the case. "That's it, I also want to ask Principal Lu how to control the ability and exert the most destructive power with the least energy. Have you ever actually fought?" Lu Shenghua asked, suddenly feeling a little embarrassed. "You seem to have only awakened yesterday. You probably haven't actually fought before. In short, just a pure white who doesn't understand anything. What should I do? I am going back to the military department tomorrow, and I still want to teach you well today. Sister Lu is very busy? What do you usually do in the military department?" Are you fighting with the orcs every day? Yedong asked 3 questions instantly, revealing his yearning for the military department. Stop! Liu Shenghua looked at him strangely. Why do you become so noisy when it comes to the military department? Just now it was like a stuffy oil bottle. I will answer you one by one. You can be regarded as an instructor in the military department, who is mainly responsible for training those who have just entered the military department to fight with the orcs every day. Of course. Not only fighting with the orcs, but also with the strange beasts. Do you think I am busy? That should be quite busy. Liu Shenghua turned out to be an army instructor, and she didn't know where she was. Yedong looked envious and yearning. I hope he can also go to the battlefield as soon as possible and win glory for the country. Yedong, it's faster to say it than to feel it physically. You can first try to treat me as a target and attack me. I will see where you are and think about how to teach you. After Liu Shenghua finished speaking, she put her hands around her chest and stood there motionless. Yedong's expression changed slightly, and he said, Senior Liu, I have actually fought, only once. Moreover, I have not been able to control the power. It is very likely to hurt you. You should be armed with your whole body. The orc he killed last night appeared in his mind. If he didn't have the ability to control it for a while and hurt Liu Shenghua, he would be very sorry. Hey! It's okay, you can attack, don't worry about hurting me. If you could hurt me, I would have died on the battlefield long ago. Liu Shenghua looked confident, and felt happy. This guy is also a person who knows how to pity and cherish Jade. Where is it like those crude goods in the military department? One by one thought she had the ability to be armed all over, and killed her assassins. Yedong nodded and said, Actually, I checked some information on the internet. I know how elemental powers control and attack, but I am not very proficient. I just saw the senior sister demonstrate a piece of armament. After the transformation, I feel that I have a certain concept of the control of abilities. Oh? Really? Liu Shenghua looked surprised. Didn't expect this guy to be quite savvy? Yedong took a deep breath, raised his right hand slightly, aimed at Liu Shenghua, and warned, Senior sister, be careful. Yep. Liu Shenghua was taken aback for a moment. Only see the next second. A dense cluster of ice cones suddenly appeared on top of her head, and the tips of these ice cones were chilling with a chill. Worthy of being in rank extreme cold ice ability. Sure enough, you can't underestimate it. What surprised her even more is that this guy's realm is clearly only a tier 1 star. How can he create such a dense number of ice cones? I haven't named this trick yet, Senior Sister Liu will help me think of a name. Fall. Liu Shenghua grinned, her whole body instantly turned black, like an Iron Man. The ice cone fell swiftly and landed on Liu Shenghua's body. There was no way to harm her body. On the contrary, she was fragile and fell apart at the touch of it. What? Yedong was shocked. This is the ability of the whole body to be armed with steel? His ice cone can easily kill an orc, but it can't hurt Senior Sister Liu anymore? Although he knows that there is a big distance between the two people, he is in rank supernatural ability at any rate, and it is impossible for him to be so far apart. Your ability can't cause me any harm, it's a bit noisy, it's my turn to fight back. Liu Shenghua, who was incarnation of the Steelman, grinned suddenly, her smile was so terrible, and Yedong's heart was panicked. Next second, a violent wind pressure quickly approached from the front. So fast! Yedong said in astonishment. Boom! Liu Shenghua hit Yedong's ear with a punch, and the sound of the violent wind attacked Yedong's eardrums frantically. Strength! It's also very scary. If it is actual combat, it is estimated that he has died countless times. This is the true strength of Liu Shenghua? Do not. Definitely still have reservations. Liu Shenghua's body returned to its original state, and the two of them were very close, only 2 fists separated. The terrestrial flower in front of me was bright and moving, with a smile at the corner of his mouth. Coward, so scared? I am teasing you. Haha. She smiled and took a few steps backwards, like a kid who succeeded in a prank. Yadong's back was already wet in shock. Such a powerful terrestrial flower can't completely drive the orcs out of the border. How terribly powerful are the orcs on the border? He must become stronger. Otherwise, even if he arrives on the battlefield, he will die. Yadong took a deep breath, a touch of determination appeared in his eyes. Senior Sister Lu, I still want to learn physical skills from you. Lu Shenghua looked puzzled. You are an elemental power person, what kind of physical skills do you learn? First learn how to control energy. Frankly tell you that your trick just now looks great, but the energy on every cone of ice they all range from high to low, and when you encounter ordinary people, you can only scare the opponent away. When you encounter really powerful people, it is completely useless. Of course, this is also a manifestation of your improper control of elemental energy. The real elemental powerhouses will not use very exaggerated or powerful and energy-consuming tricks as soon as they take action. They know how to focus their strength on one point. Lu Shenghua picked up a rock on the ground, armed with her hand, and smashed the picked rock with a punch, like this. Focus on one point, I understand. Yadong nodded in admiration. What about physique? Hey! Lu Shenghua said slightly angrily, what are you worried about? Training is not a joke, you first learn to control the elements, and then think about learning physical skills. Otherwise, if you learn a little bit of this one, a little bit of that, then you will not learn anything. Wouldn't it be a waste of your time and your talents? Lu Shenghua is right. It's the same as specializing first. If you want to learn everything, isn't it half a bucket of water clanging? I see, let me first learn how to control elemental energy freely, and I will go there to practice. After speaking, Yadong found a corner and secretly practiced against the tree in front. He tried to create a cone of ice and maximize the power of the cone. Lu Shenghua saw that Yadong was immediately involved in training. At this moment, recalling some things Yadong had mentioned about the slums before, she could understand why the other party was so anxious. It seems that my tone is too heavy, and I think things are simple, I'll apologize to him later. Lu Shenghua looked reluctant, and said in her heart, I didn't expect that I would have to apologize to others one day. It's so uncomfortable. She exhaled with a tree next to her, and the hammered leaves fell to the ground. Yadong was completely silent at the moment in the training of manipulating elemental energy. Hey! You'd better think of a name for your trick, so that your brain will remember this set of moves. When you use it, as long as you mute the name of the move in your mind, your move will naturally appear. Now, the tricks of elemental powers are based on imagination. If you don't do this, you will really face the enemy at that time, but it will make you messy and you will not be able to display your full strength. Lu Shenghua reminded her softly from a distance. I see. Thank you Senior Sister Lu, I know. Well, then you practice first, I'll go ahead and see you later. Good. Lu Shenghua is gone, so that's good, he can calm down completely. To be honest, Lu Shenghua is too beautiful, and she is also an instructor in the military department. Her presence has increased the pressure on him. When the person is gone, he relaxes and his mind seems to have become a lot brighter. Pointing to the gun. Puff! A sharp cone of ice shoots out from Yadong's fingertips with lightning speed, breaking through the air, and the sound of the wind is piercing. This is a trick he came up with after thinking about it for about 10 minutes. Not only is it powerful, but the speed is lightning fast, and you can kill an opponent by surprise at any time and anywhere. After the trick has a certain outline, the next thing to do is to increase this power. Let the power of the finger gun be maximized. He decided to condense the abilities in the ice cone. At this moment, the surface of the ice cone shot from his fingertips is rough, which is a manifestation of the lack of solid condensed elements. This has certain requirements for the manipulation of elemental energy. Yedong raised his right hand and made a pistol shape. The power of elemental powers is imagination. Imagine the outline of an object in your mind, using energy elements to summon him to the real world. This means that as long as he imagines for a long time, the details of the object will be finer, and the ice cone created by that time will be more powerful, and the hardness will naturally increase. And when he named the objects created after careful creation will leave a memory in his mind. When it is time to use it in battle, as long as you shout out in your heart or directly, the objects you have created will be directly embodied. This is a very complicated and time-consuming process. In the end, Yedong spent a full hour before he completely finished his tricks. Pointing to the gun, Yedong's fingers let out a chill, and a whole body was smooth, and the icicle swollen at the front and back hit a big tree in front of him at lightning speed. Flutter! The cone of ice penetrated the tree in an instant, stuck on a big tree 10 meters away from the rear, and entered the wood for 3 minutes. The power has increased. Yedong's heart was slightly overjoyed, so this move was settled. Moreover, after this rehearsal, his control of elemental energy has also improved a lot. He believes that this unexpected move can definitely play a miraculous effect in battle. With the means of attack, how do you deal with an enemy who moves in close quarters at ultra-high speed? Yedong fell into deep thought again. When the orcs attacked him, if it hadn't been for his eagerness, he would have lost his life. He would never allow this to happen. Yes. Yedong suddenly remembered that his Arctic ice soul belonged to a known type of ability. 300 years ago, there was a warrior defending the country with this kind of ability. Although he has passed away, his deeds should still exist in this world. Yedong took out his cell phone, but found that the signal was too poor. This broken phone. No solution anymore. I can only go to the school library to have a look. Believe that the library should have kept the information about the super cold ice monster 300 years ago. When Yedong applied for the War College. Once entered the website of the War College, there are maps about the school. He remembered that the library should be to the east of the playground. Just go. Liu Shenghua came back to Yedong with 2 red fruits and looked around, only to find that Yedong was no longer there. Strange. Go there? Could it be that I was too serious about teaching and that guy left angrily? Liu Shenghua had a headache. If her grandfather knew about this, it would be terrible. You must go to him as soon as possible. This is... Liu Shenghua stepped across a patch of grass and looked at the scene before her in astonishment. This should be when Yedong was training his moves, and everything was fine before leaving. But at this moment, there was an icy cold air around this location, all the trees were frozen into ice sculptures, and the huge trees were more or less pierced with ice cones. The shape of these ice cones went from being rough at the beginning to smooth in the end. As the shape of the ice cone has changed, the power of the ice cone is constantly advancing. The big tree behind, every one of those trees was riddled with holes, as if it had been shot by a machine gun. What did he do this hour? How did he make this place like this? Liu Shenghua was surprised in her heart. She just wanted to find Yedong right away to confirm if he did what he did here. Liu Shenghua searched all the places to find, and she would not believe that she would be in the library at this moment. So he found his grandfather, Principal Liu. At first I thought it would be almost the case that he was able to figure out a trick on the first day. I didn't expect that this guy not only created a powerful trick, but also almost destroyed the forest in the back mountain. Now people are not knowing that I went there is really annoying to me. I finally took a day off to give him personal advice. It was the first time that Principal Liu saw that Liu Shenghua was so anxious about the person she pointed out. Judging from what Liu Shenghua said, Yedong seemed to be not only an rank supernatural person, but also very good in talent and savvy. He deserves to be regarded as a genius. Don't worry, I'll send someone to find him right away. Let's take a rest. Tell me what he has learned from you and what he said? He is what I plan to focus on training. The more you know about him, the better. Hey! He is. Yedong came to the library of the War College. With the student card of the War College, you can freely enter and exit the library. The library is huge. According to the records on the school website, there are at least 100,000 books in storage. 100,000 books, to find the one he wants, is undoubtedly a needle in a haystack. Therefore, Yedong used his own advantages. Hello, my name is Yedong. I am a freshman. I want to find the record or autobiography of the warrior who protects the country from the extreme cold ice soul for 300 years. Then you look everywhere. The librarian glanced at him irritably. He really thought he was an encyclopedia, and he knew everything. But when he saw the student card that Yedong put on the table, the librarian suddenly widened his eyes. Slevel. Are you the Slevel ability Yedong? Yedong frowned slightly and said, well, it's me, is there any problem? No, no. You just said that you were looking for the book. It was noon. Yedong sat on the desk by the window on the left side of the library, holding a book called Who's Who in his hand, searching patiently for the extremely cold and icy first-generation supernatural person. The Who's Who records the personal information of all Alavel and Slevel players who have made the Hummer for Dragon Kingdom. He was looking for the first-generation extremely cold ice apprentice ability among these people. Fortunately, the number of Slevel abilities is very small, and the abilities that possess the extremely cold ice soul are unique, and he will find them soon. The surname of the first generation of extreme ice soul ability was Li, and his name was Li Wei. He was a very thin middle-aged man, which made him feel incredible. Li Wei turned out to be a disabled person with defects in his legs since he was a child. A disabled person, it was not an orc or an alien that killed him in the end, it turned out to be cancer. If he hadn't found this Who's Who, Yedong would not believe that all of this turned out to be true. A disabled man followed the military to fight in all directions and made countless contributions, and was finally named the head of the of war. How far has he developed this ability? Only to be able to achieve such an achievement. I don't know why, Yedong's arm trembled slightly. If Li Wei is a handicapped person, when he is approached by his opponent, could it be that he is evading by quickly rubbing the wheelchair with his hands? This can never be the case. Li Wei used the power of the extreme cold ice soul to reshape his legs and created his own ice jet legs, which can not only move at high speeds, but even fly in the air. Yedong was shocked. Li Wei, the first generation of extremely cold ice soul supernatural ability, is really a talent. No wonder he can become the leader of the of war. He even developed a jet system with his legs, which can move by compressing the cold current and even fly in the air. This should consume a lot of elemental energy, currently he can't use it temporarily. The absolute realm of fame skills, dominate the space with powerful spiritual power, frozen thousands of miles at one thought, and broken mountains and rivers at every thought. Guru. That was the sound of Yedong swallowing saliva. Although there is no detailed record of the formation and evolution of moves in the books, he can imagine what kind of terrifying power it is. I watched it for nearly an hour. Yedong closed the Who's Who and rubbed his sore eyes. He understood it. This first generation of extremely cold ice spirit ability did not create any defensive technology at all, relying on the pair of jet ice legs and super destructive power to wipe out all the enemies approaching him. Also known as absolute power. The first generation, you are too strong, I am not as strong as you. After watching it for an hour, it can't be said that it was nothing. On the contrary, Yedong absorbed a lot of the use of the power of extreme frost ice soul. Let him open his eyes. Boom! The entire desk suddenly flew up, and Yedong suddenly screamed and rushed out. Can this also work? Yedong didn't care about the pain in his body at this time, he just chewed carefully in his mind about the principle of how the first generation of extreme frost soul ability is considered a jet leg. So in my mind, I made a new creation based on the principle of jet. Using cold air as the force to push forward, he can push his whole person out in an instant. He failed for the first time. But for the second time, he was confident that he would carry this force to his best. If it succeeds, he will also have a pair of jet legs. Although you are an S-rank supernatural ability person, you can't just use your abilities in the library. This will make me very embarrassed. The librarian looked at him speechlessly. I'm sorry, I will leave right away. Yedong apologized quickly and ran out quickly. What a shame. Yedong returned to the back mountain of the academy again, and began to train silently. Imagine that there is air pressure on the soles of the feet, and judge the final movement distance as the air pressure increases. Puff! A chill spurted from under his feet, and Yedong hit a big tree in front of him. Boom! The tree suddenly made a dull muffled noise. Yedong stood up and patted the dust on his body, learned his lesson, and continued to try. The cold pressure under his feet is too strong, and the energy on his feet is uneven, so he can fly out uncontrollably. He decided to suppress the cold air pressure to a minimum and was trying. Puff! Yedong's heels turned up for a while, and the whole person was pushed forward by a distance of about half a meter. That's how it feels. Go on. A good start means success in the end. Puff! It seems that I have gradually adapted and can grasp the force of pushing forward. The strength cannot be too strong. If it is too strong, his body will be out of control, and it cannot be too light. The pushing distance is too short. If the strength is strong or weak, it will slowly continue to adapt. Laugh. This time, the sound produced by pushing with the cold air has changed, and it has become fuller, rather than radiating like a certain air current exploded the air before. Yedong pushed forward abruptly for about 3 meters, and stopped immediately. He didn't feel any discomfort in his body, and he could attack at any time. I see. This is also related to the fineness of the elemental energy control. The strength of the pressure is not the size of the cold, but the cohesion. Yedong looked excited. After understanding this, Yedong continued to be proficient. Boom! A figure in a forward flight state instantly flashed from one tree to the side of another tree, his fingers shook, and 5 ice cones instantly penetrated a big tree. Puff puff puff! Snapped! The last sound is strange. Yedong turned his head to look, and said in surprise, Sister Lu. What? You want to kill me? Lu Shenghua snorted and walked towards him angrily. But she could clearly feel that the pin of ice just now was much stronger than before in terms of power and speed. What is even more surprising is that she actually saw Yedong flying just now. Although it only flew a short distance, it was indeed flying. It was only one morning, how many original tricks did this guy develop? And seeing that he has matured, if he is given some time, wouldn't he be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun in the future? Sorry, Senior Sister Lu, I trained too hard and didn't pay attention to your coming. Yedong hurriedly said in front of Senior Sister Lu Huakai on the runway with an apologetic expression. Lu Shenghua laughed, I am teasing you, how could I be angry? However, just now I thought that there is still something I can give to you. What? You're attacking me for a look. Lu Shenghua has been standing in place with her hands around her chest for a long time, with a confident expression on her face. Yedong compared his finger to a pistol and pointed it at Lu Shenghua, Senior Lu, this time is not the same as before. You'd better be serious. Come on, I'll be serious. You still have a chance to make a move? Come here, I'll be fine. She patted her chest with confidence. Yedong nodded, took a deep breath, thought silently in his heart, pointing the gun. Pouch! Lu Shenghua grinned, turned her head to the left, and instantly passed her finger gun through her right side and landed on a big tree behind her. Coming. What does senior sister Lu want to teach him? Yedong continued to shoot. Puff puff dodge all. Lu Shenhua hasn't moved in her footsteps. Yedong said in surprise, Senior Lu, what is going on? Eyesight? Or? Lu Shenhua smiled heartily and said, you are really impatient, let me tell you, this is called complete concentration, it is not a move or an ability, but a technique. To put it bluntly, it is the ability to perceive. When you are in a state of full concentration, you can monitor the surrounding environment at a high level by concentrating. You can discover any disturbances, and naturally you can also avoid. Do you want to learn about the attacks coming at you from all directions, or the hidden guns? I'll teach you if I call my sister. Elder sister. Yedong didn't have any hesitation. Lu Shenhua smiled reluctantly, you are too real, let you call you really? I am just teasing you. In fact, I am 1 year younger than you. Is that to teach or not to teach? My sister yelled. Lu Shenhua looked at Yedong's fiery eyes, and was a little embarrassed when he stared at it. Keep your puppy eyes away, I will teach you that, come here. Puppy eyes? Yedong rubbed his eyes, he didn't remember that he had such a look. So Yedong walked towards Lu Shenhua. Lu Shenhua smiled slightly and suddenly struck him to his left side with a punch. The fist wind passed by, but it shocked Yedong. At this time, Lu Shenhua swept his legs toward him again, Yedong's expression changed slightly, and he concentrated on avoiding. It seems that you have also noticed that the most direct and fastest way is to keep you from being attacked. When you can avoid all objects flying towards you, you will naturally learn to concentrate. You can rest assured, I won't hit you, but you have to avoid it. And remember this feeling, don't rely on your eyes to perceive. To perceive. Yedong avoided it, and even used the unnamed Shenfa that had just been developed. Yes. Feel the flow of the wind, the maliciousness, murderousness, and even, lust. Lust. Boom. Yedong was swept out by Lu Shenhua. Lu Shenhua hurriedly covered her mouth in shock, what's the matter with you? Isn't it all right? I'm fine, coming. Lust? How do you perceive this stuff? Murderousness, malice, and the flow of wind can be felt. The sun is setting. Yedong lay on the ground panting like a cow, breathing heavily. Lu Shenhua finally lied to him, saying that he would not hit him, but what is going on with his injuries now? Sister Lu, are you leaving now? Lu Shenhua stretched her arms out, then looked at Yedong and said, well, yes, there are still many things in the military department waiting for me to go back to deal with. There are still many things waiting for her to deal with in the military department. Lu Shenhua is really an amazing person. Yedong smiled slightly and said, Senior Sister Lu, will you teach me physical skills next time? I can invite you to dinner. Are you trying to make an appointment with me? Lu Shenhua saw through Yedong's think carefully. It's a pity that Yedong really didn't think so. It's strange that a person with elemental powers doesn't want to improve one's original strength, and must learn physical skills. Forget it, I promise you, but you have to accept my test. If you meet next time, if you can please I eat what I like, and I will teach you. Sister Lu, what do you like to eat? If I told you, what test would it be called? Stupid pig. Yedong suddenly choked, then smiled bitterly. But soon he recovered calm again, he suddenly thought of a name, the name of Shenfa. Just call it, Shunbu.